Hey there, this is David once again bringing you this Sunday school lesson for today's class. Regardless of what day you see this lesson, regardless of what day you pass it on to someone else, it doesn't really matter. It's a Sunday school lesson for today's class. There are 7 days in a week, and each day is a Sunday school lesson that this class is for. On your hand, you see in the middle of your hand, this is about the book of Job, and God is looking for him a Job. You see at the top, God is always looking for a Job, and we're going to explain some things in a few minutes. I'm going to give you some insights about God, what he meant when he said, "This man is become as one of us." I know it seems like it's incomplete by saying that is become or has become, but versus has become. It is become. This man is become as one of us. That's what God was saying at that present time, and he was not concerned about whether it was politically correct. I'm going to pray this prayer before I get started in this, and then I'm going to pray at the end and show you why I'm praying the prayer that I'm praying, which is a prayer that Jesus Christ prayed before he died. And he died. He came to die, but before he died, he prayed, and we all know that God answers prayer. So let me stop babbling and pray the prayer that he prayed, looking up into his Father's face. He said, "Father, the hour has come to glorify your Son, that your Son may also glorify you, as you have given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as you have given him. And this is life eternal, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, of whom you have sent. So I've glorified you on the earth. I have finished the work for which you gave me to do. And now, O Father, glorify you me with your own self, with the glory which I had with you before the world was. So I manifested your name unto the men which you gave me out of the world. Yours they were, and you gave them me, and they have kept your word. Now they have known that all things whatsoever you have given me are of you. For I have given unto them the words which you gave me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came out from you, and they have believed that you did send me. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which you have given me, for they are yours, and all yours are mine, and all mine are thine, and I am glorified in them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. Holy Father, keep through your own name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in your name. Those that you gave me, I kept. None of them are lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture may be fulfilled. And now come I to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. So I've given them your word, and the world has hated them because they are not of the world, even as I'm not of the world. And I pray not that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I'm not of the world, and sanctify them through your truth. And your word is truth. If you have sent me into the world, even so have I also sent them into the world, and for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they may be sanctified through the truth. And neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they may be one as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they may be one in us, and that the world may believe that you have sent me. And the glory which you gave me I have given them, that they may be one even as we are one. I in them, and you in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that you have sent me, and have loved them as you have loved me. So, Father, I will that they also, whom you have given me, be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory for which you have given me. For you loved me before the foundations of the world. O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known that you did send me, and I have declared unto them your name, and will declare it, that the love wherewith may be in them, and I in them. Now that's the prayer that Jesus Christ prayed. Now we're going to get on with this lesson. This is a lesson which should come to Bible class. As you see, come to Bible class really is another lesson that's based on what we're talking about today in this Sunday school lesson for today's class. We're going to the book of Job, and what we're going to show you in the book of Job now is that why you want to come to Bible class. Because when you come to Bible class, which is another class, it's going to introduce you to what we're talking about in the book of Genesis in chapter 1, all the way through chapter 1 down to chapter 6. And it's going to give us some information and insight about this book of Job. And we're going to give us now some background about Job in this Sunday school lesson for today's class. So now you now are in another Bible class, but yet still make sure you visit cometobibleclass.com to get some insight. Now, well, I'm showing you this slide here for a reason, to give us some insight about Abraham. We know that Abraham had 8 sons, and God promised Abraham that I'm going to bless your seed. So all of Abraham's seed, which are all the people up on the earth, have an opportunity to be blessed by God should they choose to do so. But God loves everybody. One has no, he has no personal preference of person. He does not recognize you as a person because we're all was dirt. We're all dust. God breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And after the man became a living soul, throughout some other lessons that we're going to show you when you come to holywordtest.com, you'll see that God formed the man from the dust of the ground, breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. That's why you see back up in the hand that Job, on the first slide, we're saying God said this man is to become as one of us. That's after God had formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into the man's nostrils the breath of life, and man then went and done something that God asked him not to do. And after he did it, that's when God made the statement that this man is to become as one of us. Now we're now looking at Abraham. And what I'm talking so fast, but I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time. But now we're looking at Abraham's oldest son, whose mother was Hagar. His name was Ishmael. And then after Hagar was sent away by Abraham and Sarah, Abraham's wife Sarah had a son named Isaac, and Isaac had twins, which was Esau and Jacob. I put Esau, you see, on the left because he was the oldest, and Jacob was the younger son. But Esau and Jacob, and these are the descendants from Esau and Jacob that you see in the center. But on the right, left side, as far left, those are descendants from Ishmael. And then on the far right, you'll see Abraham's wife, who he married after Sarah died. She had 6 sons, and those 6 sons were brothers of Isaac and Ishmael. So now you're looking at all of the seed of Abraham in this slide. That was the purpose for showing this, to show you why and where Job. This is about the book of Job, and Job came from the sons that you see on the far right side. Job was from those persons, which was a righteous people, and we're not going to get into that right now. But Job is from the lineage of the persons that you see on the right side. We're not going to give you all that information right now either. We're going to move on with this. Now here, we're in a pandemic throughout the whole world. The whole world is in a pandemic, and presently there are 16,100,905 confirmed people across the globe has a virus, and it's called a coronavirus that you see, COVID-19. You see worldwide, the 16,100,900 people have been confirmed to have the virus, and that's just the ones that they know about. There's so many other people who don't know, which will far exceed the 16 million. But God does have the world's attention with this virus, and those people in the world, if they were to come to Bible class, they then would understand what God is doing, and they would understand that there is a God, and we're going to show you that in this lesson here. But of the 16 million in it, and I'm in the United States of America, but in the confirmed death throughout the world, over 645,482 people as of today, according to the statistics that I'm looking at, has died from this virus. But you are still here listening at this lesson, so make sure you pay attention and share this lesson, because you and I could have been part of that 645,482 people who have died. We also could be part of that 16,100,905 people who have been confirmed with this virus, because in the United States alone, 4,197,184 people have been confirmed with this virus. That's just in America, and that's 4 million of the 16 million, which is, you see how percentages, what that is, meaning that there's a 16 million versus the 4 million. Then you look at this 146,000 people who have died. 146,632 people as of Sunday, July the 26th. I believe that's today's date. But nevertheless, this is that many people who have died in America. 146,632 people. I'm sure there's been more, but we don't have the statistics of that. And of that death rate in America, we are still here today listening at this lesson. So I'm going to move on. Make sure you come to Bible class. Visit cometobibleclass.com. It's going to explain some things about what we're talking about today in detail. But what we're talking about today is just what we're talking about in the book of Job. Now, here we are in the book of Job, and we're talking about a discussion between God and Job that took place when God was speaking to Job out of a whirlwind. God is speaking with Job out of a whirlwind. We're going to cover, as you see at the top, we're going to cover chapter 38, verse 1, all the way through Job 40, verse 16, but it's actually 41 through 31. I didn't stop there because in 41, God has given the description of something that you and I need to understand, and I didn't put that there for a reason. So you see that we're going to go to Job 46:6 because in Job 1:38, 1 through 13, we're going to be talking about God is making a confession, and his confession is in the whirlwind, and God is speaking in 41 in Job chapter 38, verse 1, you see God said, then God answered Job out of a whirlwind. And then you're going to see later on, he's going to continue that discussion while he's speaking with Job. That's going to be in chapter 40, verse 6. But now in this lesson here, we're talking about God is speaking with Job out of a whirlwind. And the significance of this is to show what God is telling Job and what Job didn't have anything about knowing about what God was talking about, because Job had just finished bragging to his friends about him not sinning, and all of his friends, his three friends, his wife, and fourth young man who Job was speaking with in the book of Job. Things were happening in the book of Job, and that we really need to have sit down and take a look at. The reason why some of the things are happening in the world today, but we don't have any idea as to what God is using, what he's using today to get our attention. He does have our attention. Believe it or not, all of us are concerned about whether or not we are going to get this virus, because you notice everybody now, those who are not following the leader of the United States and wearing a mask on their face to cover their face from the virus that's going around in the world. So God does have everyone's attention. Now, in this lesson here, we're going to be talking about what God and Job is talking about. You notice here, God is answering Job. If you were to go back to chapter 37, you see that Job is talking to 36 and for prior chapters. You see what Job and all of his friends are talking about with regards to God. Then the Lord answered Job out of a whirlwind and said, who is this that darkens the counsel without knowledge? Gird up now your loins like a man. You're going to see that 2 times. You see that God is asking Job to gird up his loin like a man, and I will demand of you an answer. God is demanding an answer out of Job, what Job cannot answer, because the question that God is asking Job, starting in verse 4, so where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you will have understanding. Who laid the measures thereof, if you know, and who stretched the lines upon it, whereupon are the foundations of thereof fastened, and who laid the cornerstones thereof when the morning stars were singing together and all the sons of God were shouting for joy. I put that in yellow for a reason, because that's the basis for come to Bible class. You notice that something was taking place, and this was taking place. So you can see in the answer that God is asking Job to give what Job cannot give. God is reminding us in the answers that he's given to Job that he was doing something as he was creating this world, fastening the foundations of the world, and he laying the cornerstones and laying the lines upon the earth. As he was doing that, that was something that taking place. And you see that he said, verse 7, is when the morning stars sing together and all the sons of God shout for joy. I'm going to take a drink. Hold on just a minute. I'm sitting drinking a Pepsi and giving this also. Now you notice in verse 7, and that's just something that was taking place. Well, if you go back now to come to Bible class, then you're going to see what took place after these morning stars that were singing together and all the sons of God were shouting for joy. Then you're going to take place as to what took place for God to say, let us make man in our image, back up in Genesis chapter 1. Remember, we said we're going to go from Genesis chapter 1 down to Genesis chapter 6 in this lesson to show why God is saying what he's saying here in the book of Job. And Job is one of the oldest book in the Bible, but it's not the first book in the Bible. As you know where Job is located in the Bible. If you those who don't that study the Bible, you know where Job is located, and those of who you don't study the Bible, then you need to go and look at to find out where the location of Job is in the Bible compared to where Genesis is. Genesis is the first book in the Bible, but Job is far over in the Bible, but yet Job is the oldest book in the Bible. And this lesson here, God is speaking with Job out of a whirlwind and explaining to Job what was taking place as God was fastening the foundations of the world, as he was creating the world. something was happening. When this was discussing here, what taking place here was in the sixth day, because God took 6 days to create the earth, and in the first, second, third, fourth, and the fifth day, you'll find that back up when God had finished the heavens, and God was named the heaven the firmament. You see that back up in Genesis chapter 1. But also in Genesis chapter 1:26, you'll see that God said, let us make man in our image. For the purpose of God making the man in his image is what we see here in the 7th verse of the book of Job. But that's another lesson for another day. We just want to get you started so you can come to BibleClass.com. Come to BibleClass.com, and it's going to give us some insights about what we're going to be covering here. Now, let's move on in this lesson here. Verse 9, it says, when I made the clouds as a garment and break forth as it had issue out of the womb. Now, God is speaking as if though he's doing something like the clouds and the earth. It's like a woman when she has a baby. Well, God is now putting it down where we can understand what he's asking Job that Job cannot answer. But now you and I need to study this lesson. So I make recommendation that you stop this slide just by clicking on the slide and stopping this lesson and studying it. Or you can go to your Bible and study this, or you want to share this with other people so they can study it as well, so you get an idea as how to understand this pandemic that's going out throughout the world. God has all things in hand, and he's going to show you in a few minutes. All things under heaven, God said, is his, and everything that's under heaven, he has control of. Now, I'm going to pause just for a minute, and I hope for you to just study this while I pause. Okay, so what I was saying earlier now, we're back into this, we're moving on. When God is telling us that God, is in control of the entire world, and you, yes, and of course he's in charge of every human being in the world, and he has control of what goes on in the world. We're going to not go in depths like this in this lesson as I started, because it will take too long. I want you to make sure you see what we're doing. We're going from chapter 38 in the book of Job. We're going all the way through chapter 41 in details, but 41 is one you really want to concentrate on. You want to concentrate on the entire book of Job, as well as some of the things that we're going to be talking about in this lesson with regard to the Genesis chapter 6 and the book of Jude, the book of Peter. We want to make sure you understand what is taking place with this lesson if you're not studying it for yourself. But again, let me reemphasize what I said earlier about this. Who has laid the measures thereof? He's talking about the world. He's asking Job all these questions. Now, one thing I want to point out to you, that God is asking all these questions that you and I cannot answer unless we know who God is. God, and Job knew who God was, but Job knew who God was. That was these questions that you see here in chapter 38, Job could not answer. And there are some questions further on in chapter 39, 40, and 41, Job could not answer. I saw something up in the beginning of this I didn't tell you about. It was God had his hand, had the man's hand open, and God is telling Job that he will confess. But God is making a confession, and I hope that when we get that, and you really understand what God is saying in this confession, because we as a human being have three things that we're always going to have within us, and that's lying, lust, and pride. Every human being upon the earth has pride. Every human being upon the earth will lie, and every human being upon the earth has some form of lust. And those are the things that God does not like: lying, lust, and pride. And I want to emphasize that. We're moving on in this lesson now. That was chapter 38. We're down this. So see how it goes. We're going all the way through chapter 38, all the way down through verse 41, and then it starts in chapter 39, verse 1 through chapter 30. So all this lesson is about Job, and I hope for you to stop this lesson and understand what's going on with Job. We've covered some very important points. Now, I highlighted the things in blue, like wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. These are of the 7 spirits of God. Now, God told us in the book of Revelation in chapter 5, verse 6, that he sent forth his 7 spirits into all the earth. Well, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, might, counsel, all these are the 7 spirits of God that is sent forth into all the earth. And you and I have all 7 spirits We may not understand how to exercise and execute the seven spirits of God, but yet there's a book in the Bible, and there's a book called the Seven Spirits of God that show you exactly what you need to do in order to exercise what Job needed to have understood and hear. If Job had to exercise the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding, the mighty counsel that was needed, then God, some of the questions that God was asking Job, he would have known. So even though God described Job as a righteous and upright man, but there's still some things that Job, as a righteous and upright man, needed to have known in order to get to where we and I are trying to get to. So God, as a result of Job not being able to answer, and the things that took place back up in Genesis chapter 6, is why God sent his son Jesus Christ to the earth in order to correct some of the things that was done previously. We're going to move on with this now. We're just trying to show you in detail. Before I do, look at verse 9. So will a unicorn be willing to serve you? Well, a unicorn, you notice the word unicorn in our society today, we think of a unicorn as a horse with a horn. Well, a unicorn is in the horse family, which is a rhinoceros, and the rhinoceros has a horn, as you know, and he is of the horse family. But the pointers that we see, the white pointers and the red pointer we have with the whole unicorn in the head, that's not the unicorn. The unicorn is a rhinoceros, and God is asking these questions of Job. Will the unicorn be willing to serve you? Well, of course not. Will or abide by your crib? Will a unicorn lay down beside your bed and be as like a dog? Will it protect you? Can you bind the unicorn with the binds of the furry, or will he hollow in the valley after you? No. This is God asking Job these questions about what took place. And you see down at the bottom in verse, it say, give you the good wings of a peacock. No, you don't have that. Or the wings, fur of an ostrich. You don't have that kind of stuff, which leaves her nest, eggs in the earth. Well, God is making a comparison now with different animals and things. Now, let me put a pin here just for you to know. If you go back when you study the book of Genesis, you'll see in the book of Genesis chapter 1, God created all of the animals in the world. Every animal in the world, God created the animals in the world, but then after he formed Jacob from the dust, Adam from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, then he gave Adam the authority to name all the animals that he created. God did not name the animals. That was given to Adam, for Adam to name all the animals, but the male and the female that God created in his image, back up in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, God put them in charge of that man that he created in his image, which is male and female. He put the man that he created in his image in charge of all the animals and everything up on the earth. So the male and the female that God created in his image are in charge, but Adam named everything. So the animals that God is mentioning here in this lesson was named by Adam. That's what the point I was trying to make there. We're moving on. Now, I'm going real fast now to go fast. Look, do the hawk fly with wisdom? That's one of the things that God is talking about, is one of those seven spirits back up there, verse 17, because God has deprived her wisdom, neither has he imputed her understanding. It says God is talking about the ostrich, because the ostrich doesn't have the wisdom that a man have, doesn't have the understanding nor the knowledge, but God is showing the comparison of what these animals don't have compared to what Job had. And then Job still didn't understand what God was trying to ask him, even though Job had the seven spirits of God within Job. This is what I'm trying to make. Let's move on down to 41, verse 1 all the way through verse 24. Well, this is significant, and I want to say to go here to show that Job answered God. See Job's answer in verse 3. Job answered God, and in answering God, he said, behold, I am vile. What shall I answer you? This is Job asking God the question. I will lay my hands upon my mouth. Once have I spoken, but I will not answer yes twice, but I will proceed no further. Job let it be known that he didn't know what God was talking about, and he now is letting God know that he's going to cover his mouth with his hand and would not speak. Now, from this point on, let's look at verse 9, because verse 9 through verse 13 is very important. It says, have you arms like God? This is God asking Job the question. Have you had? Now let's look at verse 8, and now let's look at verse 7. Now let's look at verse 6. So God now in verse 6 is asking Job. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. So remember I told you about back up in 38:1 that God was speaking to Job out of the whirlwind. Well, here again, God is speaking to Job out of the same whirlwind, because the discussion you see in 38:1 all the way down through 39 is 30 is what God is speaking to Job out of the whirlwind. I'm going to take a drink of water. Or Pepsi, that is. So now in 39 all the way through verse 30, God is talking to Job about the animals, right? Now in verse 40 is where God continues to speak with Job, but then Job answered God. You can see, and Job's answer was to say, I don't have anything to say because I really don't understand. So I'm going to put my hand on my mouth so I won't say anything more. Then God answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, declare, and will you know, and said out of the whirlwind, gird up yourself like a man. Well, you notice back up in chapter 38, verse 1, where God was speaking out of the whirlwind, he had asked Job to gird up yourself loins like a man. Well, this is the second time, but each time, speaking out of the whirlwind, 2 times God told Job to gird up himself like a man. I will demand of you, and then back up into chapter 38, you see that God said, I will demand of you. So each time God is demanding an answer out of Job. So will you also disannul my judgment? Will you condemn me that you may be righteous? Have you an arm like God, or can you thunder with your voice like him? No, Job can't do that. Deck yourself now, he said, with majesty and excellency, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Cast abroad the rage of your wrath, and behold, everyone that is proud. Now, every human being, put a pin there. Every human being that is proud, everybody, and the person, the leader of our country, God forbid, for him to not have an understanding, needs to check his pride. A person with all that pride don't need the pride, because pride is one of the things that God hates. God hates lying, lust, and pride. But above all those 3, the one that he hates the most is pride. That's what we need to know as a human being. All of us, every human being in the world that's breathing God's air, have some form of lying, some form of lust, and some form of pride, and pride is the worst of all. Let's keep on seeing this so we can see what we're talking about. And God's looking at verse 9. Have you an arm like God, or can you thunder with a voice like him? Deck yourselves now and with majesty and excellence, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Cast abroad the rage of your wrath, and behold everyone that is proud, and embrace him. Look on everyone that is proud, and bring him low, and tar down the wicked in their place. Hide them into the dust. Now, hold it. Hide them into the dust means to bury them. Hide them into the dust, hide them into the dust together, and bind their face in secret, and bind their face in secret. He's talking about the pride, the proud, the pride. Then God said, then will I confess that your own right hand can save you. So if you're a proud person, cast the pride aside. Let it go. Turn to God and ask God to lead you and guide you. And don't think that you are bigger than in the back of a potato chip. And don't let money become your God. Now, those persons who seek a lot of money are looking for a different kind of God. God owns all the money, all the cattle on the hill, not just the cattle on the hill, but God owns the hill that the cattle is on. So don't look for money to become your God. And some of the false prophets in the world today are preaching prosperity and how you're going to make it with all this money. Money is not the answer. Our leaders of our country look for money, trying to buy their way out of this pandemic. You cannot spend money to get rid of God. And the coronavirus that's in America, not just America, but in the world, the 16,100,905 confirmed people over the world has got the virus. That's just the 16,100,905 that we know about. There could be another 16 million who we don't even know about, if we don't know, because only God knows. And then there's 4,197,184 confirmed people in America. It could be twice that much. We really don't know. What I'm saying is to get rid of that pride and forget that money, for money to become your God. Money cannot become God. That's what happened back in the book of, in the time of Daniel, in Daniel's day, because at that time, money was was Nebuchadnezzar's king, or his God was money. And we need to let go of that idea that money is going to buy our way out of everything, because it can't. And this coronavirus is a sure example to show all of the world you cannot buy your way out of this death. If you're designated to die from the coronavirus, that you will. The thing to do is to turn yourself around and walk away. Now, in the book of Job, chapter 40 is what this is really hinging upon. And make sure you pay close attention to what this is doing. Stop this. It's only this 3 or 4 slides. And go back and make sure you pay attention to what's going on. Now, look at chapter 41. Chapter 41 is about the adversary. That's who God is talking about. The book of Job is 38 through 41 is about things that we don't have any control over, but things that will control of us. And make sure you go back now and look at chapter 38, verse 7 that was shared a while ago. And then you go back and read Genesis chapter 6, especially 1 through 13, and get an understanding, or go to cometobibleclass.com and listen at that, and then use your Bible with that open so you can understand what this lesson here is about, this Sunday school lesson for today's class. Make sure that you now continue with this and look at verse 1 of chapter 41, 1 through 34, to get an understanding of what God and who God is talking about. I'm going to move on. What he is really talking about, you see where he said, he beholds all things. He is the king over all the children of pride. We're talking about Satan. So chapter 41 is about Satan. Chapter 41 in the book of Job is about Satan, because of verse 34 in the book of Job, let it be known who God is talking about. He beholds all things. He is the king over all the children of pride. Get rid of pride. God hates pride. God hates pride. He hates lying, lust, and pride, but pride the worst of all. My name is David Richardson. You see my picture 4 times. With on the left side of the show, I'm a graduate of the University of Arkansas, and I graduated. You see the time that I graduated. You see what my major and my accounting background is. But coming to Bible class is the lesson that I'm recommending that you see. And I would for you to live your life thinking outside of the box. Don't let anyone box you in. Think for yourself, but ask God to give you the thoughts, and he'll give you the thoughts. He said, ask and it shall be given, seek and you shall find. He said, knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone who asks it will receive it, and he or she who seeks will find it. And to him and her that knock it shall be opened. So ask God, and he'll give you the delights of your heart. Now we're going to pray again, that prayer that Jesus Christ prayed, looking up into heaven at his Father's face. And it took him 6 days to do this. The death of Jesus was the hour that he said was come. He said, Father, the hour was come. That was 6 days. 1 day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is 1 day. So 1 hour with the Lord is 6 days. It took God 6 days, 6,000 years to create the world. His son came to the world to die, but before he died, he prayed. Then he died. And after he died, they pierced him in the side and he bled. And after he bled, they buried him in a tomb for 3 days. And after 3 days, his father raised him up out of the tomb, and he set him on the right-hand side of glory, where he now sitting on the right-hand side of glory, living, preparing a place for you and I to come. That's what he told us in the scriptures, that he was going away to prepare a place for you and I to come. And he prayed, and in this prayer, that's what you need to hear what him say. Father, the hour has come to glorify your Son, that your Son may also glorify you, as you have given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as you have given him, and this is life eternal, that they may know you, the only true God, in Jesus Christ, of whom he have sent. So I have glorified you on the earth. I have finished the work for which you gave me to do. And now, O Father, glorify you me with your own self with the glory which I had with you before the world was. So I manifested your name unto the men which you gave me out of the world. Yours they were, and you gave them me, and they have kept your word. And now they have known that all things whatsoever you have given me are of you. For I have given unto them the words which you gave me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came out from you, and they have believed that you did send me. So I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them of which you have given me, for they are yours, and all yours are mine, and all mine are thine, and I am glorified in them, and now I am no more in the world. But these are in the world, and I come to you, Holy Father. Keep through your own name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are. So while I was with them in the world, I kept them in your name. Those that you gave me I kept, and none of them are lost but the son of perdition, that the scripture may be fulfilled. And now come I to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. So I've given them your word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I'm not of the world. And I pray not that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I'm not of the world, and sanctify them through your truth. And your word is truth. As you have sent me into the world, even so have I also sent them into the world, and for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they may be sanctified through the truth. And neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through that word, that they may be one as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they may be one in us, and that the world may believe that you have sent me. And the glory which you gave me I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one. I in them, and you in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that you have sent me, and I have loved them as you have loved me. So, Father, I will that they also whom you have given me be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory for which you have given me, for you loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I've known you, and these have known that you did send me, and I have declared unto them your name, and will declare it, that the love wherewith you have loved me may be in them, and I in them. So this is the end of this presentation. That's a prayer that Jesus Christ prayed before he died. And I would for you to visit the Jesus Christ video prayer. It's the prayer that I just prayed, broken down to show you why it is so important for you to know that prayer and to put it into your spirit and to recite it as often as you can, that you may learn to know what Jesus Christ came to do and who he is. The question is, you know who he is, but the answer that I'm asking you to give a question, the answer to, is what is Jesus Christ? We know who he is. He is the Son of God, the only living Son of God. But yet and still, we may not understand what he is. And what he is the glory of God that God sent down, called Jesus, walking in the flesh among men. Make sure you understand what Jesus Christ is and to know why it's so important for you to know him. This is David Richardson Band. Bye-bye. I've been with you now quite a while. Bye. Love you.